Alright, let's get this show on the road. Today we'll be talking about a YouTuber who goes by the name of Deviant Crow. Now, for those of you who don't know who that is, they are a YouTuber who mainly does commentary, although judging from the like to dislike ratio on many of their videos and the overall state of their comment sections, it does not appear that they do a very good job at that. In fact, to say that their videos are bad or suck would be one of the grossest understatements of the year. Their videos are downright atrocious and frequently mess up on many points / not getting the right point, even going so far as to spread misinformation on people. All of this is laughably hilarious, especially when you consider how their brand is based off a crow, which is supposed to be one of the smartest animals. And yet they have some of the dumbest takes I've ever seen on YouTube, and that's saying something. Their channel is basically just a bad take machine. To give you an idea of what they're like, if you search Deviant Crow up on YouTube, you get Deviant Crow Rant and Deviant Crow Response right under their name. So we're already off to a great start. The main and foremost problem I would say that they have is that they make many videos on other content creators, but their points against these creators are simply not thought out / incorrect, or just reaching for points they never made, and there are many examples of this. Let's get started, shall we? So first up, I'll be covering one of their more recent videos where they cover a YouTuber named PhantomStrider, who mainly makes top 10 lists for cartoons. And based on the title of Crow's video on him, it appears that he is transphobic, although Crow has taken back this statement in her video title. But let's take a look at what Phantom said that would be considered transphobic. Load the video. Yo, what is that intro? Like, dog, what am I looking at right now? This shit looks like it would be in a Mr. Beast's worst intro series if he still made those videos. Looking at this intro is making me long for the days when people would use Minecraft intros or 3D text with EDM dubstep music. At least that would be much better than whatever this is. But I digress. Now let's see the clip that made Crow believe that PhantomStrider is transphobic.
Today I'm talking about PhantomStrider. You may know him as a top 10 channel that, makes top 10s about animation, and they're fairly bland, boring, and derivative. Really repetitive, and just not a channel I really like that much. Then why am I talking about a channel that's boring, repetitive, and not worth watching? Well, that's because PhantomStrider is a transphobic prick. In one of his videos, Worst South Park Episodes Commentary, he talks about trans people for a bit, and oh god.
The first thing some people talk about is that the idea that I'm not, like I'm anti-transgender or something. And it's a difficult subject because while I feel, if someone really doesn't like being in their own body and they simply cannot think of any other way, and if that's what they have to do, that's what they have to do. But I just hate the idea of any of people I know or love or any of my friends mutilating themselves. And I just think, I hope it would be a last resort for people to do something like that, because it's, irreversible change. And so anyway, that's a very heavy sort of subject, and it's certainly not something I'm qualified to talk about.
Yeah, there's a lot of bullshit to talk about here, so let's just jump right into it. How the hell is transitioning surgery mutilating yourself? Like, really, let's think about that for a minute.
So PhantomStrider is apparently transphobic over things he said 3 to 4 years ago, back in the 2016 era, when trans people and their issues were not as widely known or understood as they are today. He also says in the beginning of his talk that he wasn't really familiar with trans people, but was only talking about it because of his audience. He just wanted to answer a question that some of his fans had, and he had no ill intent behind it. While I do think that his statement was poorly worded, to attribute transphobia to it is a stretch, and it is sad that you would try and cancel him over a statement 3 to 4 years old, and try and justify it with, he should be called out for it. Called out for what? An outdated stance he had? a poorly worded statement? And is he really wrong for saying that gender reassignment surgery should be a last resort? I mean, it is still surgery, which always has danger to it, whether it be gender reassignment surgery or heart surgery. So wouldn't you want surgery to be last resort after you've exhausted every other option and not before?
Here's a good question for everyone. Would you all consider heart surgery mutilating yourself? No, you wouldn't, because that's dumb. Heart surgery is done to overall help your health, just like how transitioning surgery is overall done to help someone's mental health. Good example of one of the things that is helped solved by transitioning is gender dysphoria. Gender dysphoria is a feeling of discomfort or distress that might occur in people whose gender identity differs from their sex assigned at birth or sex-related physical characteristics.
That is a false equivalency. You cannot compare heart surgery, which requires a physical reason for performing it because it is a physical ailment, while gender reassignment surgery is more to help the mental state of the patient due to them wanting to be the other gender, and while there is a physical aspect to it, it is mental health oriented or a mental ailment, and meant for the patient's mental health.
So back to the whole heart surgery thing. What if you had a lot of discomfort with your heart due to the fact that it's not working properly, and of course that could cause mental stress and anguish, just like gender dysphoria, except without the heart stuff. So here's this medically necessary procedure. What if someone just went like, maybe you shouldn't. Use it as a last resort, man. As if to say the medical treatment that will make you better is a bad thing, even though it's not.
Are you seriously saying that it's bad for people to try and do surgery as a last resort? Let's take your heart surgery point as an example. Because if I had heart problems, I would much rather take medication or diet/exercise to try and fix the heart problems than undergo surgery unless it was the only option left. Surgery, whether it's heart or gender reassignment, involves cutting open a body, which is an inherent risk to a person, and in both cases, should only be done as a last resort when all other options are exhausted.
And I like how PhantomStrider tries to say, I'm not anti-transgender. Yes, you are. If you're against people getting the help they need, unless, a last resort, then you're an asshole. Let's say he is genuinely worried about his friend. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Then you would want them to have the surgery. You would want them to get the surgery that would overall make their lives better.
Crow, Phantom never said that he was against trans people. He just wanted to make sure that surgery was used as a last resort. He's not against people getting the help they need. He just wants to make sure that they're doing the right choice. If I had a friend who was getting gender reassignment surgery or any kind of surgery in general, I would want to make sure that this is the final and right option for them because surgery is an inherent risk to people due to the fact that it involves cutting people open. While medical advancements have gotten better over the years, it's still very risky and should only be done as a last resort, when all other options are exhausted. Phantom was never saying that he was against trans surgery, he just wants to make sure that it is the right choice. And due to the nature of transgender surgeries, it should only be done as a last resort. The rest of the video is just Crow talking about gender reassignment surgery, which is fine, and other points are already debunked. The only real problem I have about that part is that Crow says that gender reassignment surgery is reversible, meaning that you can detransition.
And there's another stupid argument about, once you transition, you can't untransition, even though you can. Sex reassignment surgery, despite what everyone says, is reversible. You'd think that would be obvious considering that if you can have a sex change in the first, if either sex can have a sex change, then obviously they can use the other procedure for the other sex to transition back, obviously.
Well, I decided to look it up, and no, it is not reversible. In fact, it is considered irreversible and very demanding to do, even for experienced surgeons. This article basically says that it's either impossible or very hard to do, which only proves that gender reassignment surgery should not be taken lightly and only done as a last resort. Also, I like how your stutter was so bad that the first time I heard this, I thought I was high and I don't even smoke weed, so... And before anyone gets on my case about speech impediments and stuff like that, yeah, occasionally mixing up your words, saying the wrong thing, or mispronouncing a word is fine, but when you stutter this bad, you should probably just retake your lines. Overall, this whole video was just an attempted hit piece on a random YouTuber just because they did something bad you didn't like a few years back. Basically just a textbook example of canceling someone for old messages type beat, trying to justify it lazily by saying, since he never addressed it, that means he holds transphobic viewpoints. But he never even was transphobic in the first place. He just wasn't familiar with sex reassignment surgery at the time. He even admits this and says the only reason he made that point was because of his fans in that video clip. You basically just lied and said he was transphobic when at worst he had poor wording, when he referred to gender reassignment surgery as mutilation. And when it is revealed that Phantom no longer stands by his statement, unsurprisingly, Crow still elects to keep the video up with the excuse to educate people on sex reassignment surgery. Well, if you really wanted to do that, wouldn't it be better to remove the parts where you call Phantom transphobic since that turned out to be a lie? Or even better, you delete or private your original video and make a new video talking about sex reassignment surgery? Especially when the main premise of your original video was to make a call out for Phantom and not to educate people on sex reassignment. It honestly looks like this video was only made in order to try and garner quick views and attention, which, judging by her like to dislike ratio in her comments, backfired harshly. It's so apparent that she saw Phantom's clip instead of taking time to process it to see if he's changed his views or is actually transphobic. She rushed to make this video for exposure and views. The next topic I'll be talking about is when Crow sets her sights on TJV, where she tries and calls him out for defending Odds One Out, who came under fire a while back for posting a joke tweet poking fun at the usage of /s, and people got mad at him for being quote-unquote ableist, and as a result he had to make an apology tweet. In this video, Crow tries to downplay the backlash the Odds One Out got by saying that TJV could only find one complaint, so TJV is clearly blowing this outrage out of proportion.
It's just completely ridiculous that people are trying to cancel him. This is what the original tweet was from Snowy and then a snowflake. Hey bestie, yeah, at the Odd Ones Out. Want to explain this Islamophobic joke you made as a non-Muslim? This isn't looking good for you. It's either the Notes app or Google Docs apology. This is completely ridiculous. It's completely made a sarcasm or a joke, and some people just can't take it. I guess the Odd Ones Out has to sort of censor himself like crazy because everyone's going to be looking at him, seeing whether or not he's going to say a joke, when in the first place it's just a joke, and if you don't like the joke, you move on. You don't try to cancel a guy over it, especially the amount of hard work he puts in and all the effort it takes to make a single video. Swear to God, it's a lot of sensitive snowflakes online that's kind of ruining the YouTube platform. It's kind of awful.
Wow, it appears that there's a good portion of people that you'll only show one of trying to cancel the poor Odd Ones Out, and look what they did to the poor boy.
Well, considering that the Odd One Out had to delete his joke and issue an apology, clearly more than one person was angry at him for him to delete the tweet, and even in his apology, people were still angry at him. Crow also tries to imply that the Odd One Out is offensive / needed to do more research on /s because he made fun of it, and neurodivergent people also use it.
Another stupid fucking thing you do is go like, why are people asking him to use /s? And then he later, Odd Ones Out later explains why he's using /s. Maybe look up what ND means, and maybe do some research before you make a video like this. ND stands for a neurodivergent person. Those type of people have problems picking up social cues, so using something like /s to hint at sarcasm can help those kinds of people. So when the Odd Ones Out is mocking something like /s that's used to help people that are neurodivergent, whether it's intentional or not, that's kind of offensive that he didn't take time to research why people use /s and decided to mock it without knowing anything about it or caring to do research on it. That's why the person here is mad, because as someone that is neurodivergent, they saw it as offensive that Odd Ones Out mocked something that is used to help them understand things better.
Well, sorry to say, but just because a large group of people use /s doesn't mean that they are the automatic target. Like, before this whole incident, I didn't even know that neurodivergent people use /s. I assumed it was a Reddit thing because I've seen people there use it a lot, and I'm guessing that Odd One Out also thought something similar due to his apology. Context matters. It also doesn't make any sense that he would deliberately try and offend neurodivergent people, considering how he is extremely child-friendly and progressive. And if he knew that /s was used by neurodivergent people, he wouldn't have made the joke in the first place in order to be kid-friendly. Due to his audience, it doesn't make any sense for him to be ableist whatsoever, so the whole he's ableist thing doesn't make any sense. This whole situation is more akin to a misunderstanding. Crow also tries to peddle the point that since cancel culture didn't really affect Odd Ones Out, it was overblown.
Most of the time when it comes to cancel culture, it isn't a real problem that people should be worried about. Most of the time when a celebrity gets canceled, nothing really that bad happens to him. Like, you could say someone like James Gunn got canceled unfairly, but even then, he ended up still getting his job back just a few months later.
Despite her not acknowledging that the Odd Ones Out is a massive content creator, and as a result, unless a complaint levied against him is something like rape or murder, it will not have much of a long-lasting impact due to their large audience, which is more than I can say for the average Joe who does not have a massive audience to defend themselves from unjust accusations. The problem lies in the fact that he got canceled for such a mundane reason / misunderstanding. Crow also tries to defend someone trying to have a go at the Odd Ones Out for making a quote-unquote Islamophobic joke by saying that they're just asking when it's apparent that the person in the tweet is being aggressive and clearly trying to get them ruined based on the tone of their tweet.
Look at this awful, awful human being asking the Odd Ones Out to explain himself. No, that seems kind of fair. When you ask someone to explain themselves, that's usually done so we can clear up any possible misconceptions. You know, that's fair. That's implying that the joke may not have been intentionally Islamophobic. But of course, this dastardly person then goes on to ask for a possible apology. So okay, so your big problem, their big deal in this example is someone asking for an explanation about a joke they found offensive and asking to possibly apologize for said offensive joke. How is that a problem? How is it something to get mad about? Gee, it sure does kind of sound like you're the one being overly sensitive. Now, you may try and argue, well, the joke was obviously not meant to be offensive. Well, yeah, just because it's obvious to you doesn't mean it's obvious to everyone. This person saw the joke as Islamophobic and decided to ask for an explanation. That's fair. It's to clear up, any misconceptions. It's giving the chance to Odd Ones Out to explain himself.
Crow is essentially downplaying the aggression in the tweet to suit her needs. There's also the fact that this person is lying about Odd Ones Out being Islamophobic and bringing an unrelated event into the /s drama in order to try and add fuel to the fire, which is a lot more than he's just asking a question. This is the clip that they got mad about, by the way.
They're about these mice trying to immigrate to America. Good luck doing a 2017 reboot. Dirty mouselums.
So this shows that in reality, Odd Ones Out was mocking the redneck southern trope, was a play on words involving malice and Muslim, aka Muslims, which is a far cry from Islamophobia, especially when you realize that he's making fun of racists in that clip. This video was overall just poorly made in her trying to play proxy for people who wanted to cancel the Odd Ones Out over not understanding jokes. The only quote-unquote good point that Crow raises in her video is that Odd Ones Out had a dubious mobile game, but that's completely unrelated to the current Odd Ones Out situation at hand.
Don't sit here and discredit him. The Odd Ones Out gets an A+ in my book. All you snowflakes out there who are sitting here trying to hurt him or cancel him, y'all get a big whopping F.
Okay, first of all, to say that Odd Ones Out is completely harmless and has done nothing negative on this platform is hilarious. Because he has. He promoted a game with predatory microtransactions.
This drama between TJV and Crow takes a turn though, when TJV reveals that Crow decided that making a video on him wasn't enough. She had to raid his Discord server and harass his members, and Crow tries to justify it by saying that she was just making a joke and that he shouldn't get mad since it's just a joke.
This video right now that you guys are watching more than likely won't be monetized, but I don't really care. There's some bad language put in here, but I don't really want to take the time to bleep it out. I'd rather you guys just watch it the way it is. The only thing that I really cut out in this is when people go quiet, but for the most part, this is like the raw footage of Deviant Crow acting like an idiot in my own Discord server. He probably decided to make a video about me, but he decided to jump over to my Discord instead, and he started spamming spaghetti everywhere. Here's the proof of it. So if you want to know the level of maturity on this guy, you could just kind of see. There's not really much there. So any argument that he tries to make is going to seem childish anyways.
For you see, guys, any arguments that I make are going to be extremely childish because I posted spaghetti in his server. That's bad on me. That's a big old bad on me. But I could have sworn making a joke, in this case that would be a joke, is okay, you know, getting mad over a joke is stupid, TJV. Getting in any way upset or pointing it out as bad is, you know, bad because they're jokes, man. You can't criticize jokes.
Sure, that was a joke. We both know that if someone raided your Discord with the same methods, you would not see it as a joke, but as a raid and complain about how you're being harassed. This is a saddest attempt to deflect from your actions that just makes you look bad and petty, going out of your way to raid and harass the Discord. I didn't know that it was a joke, apparently, to spam Discords and harass their members. Then TJV and some mods get into an argument with Crow where one of the main points is whether or not more views means better content.
Okay, I guess, let's see. Vosh has more viewers than you, so Vosh's content is better than yours. I don't think you agree with that.
Who is Vasha? Oh no, I know my content is shit. I'm fully aware of it because I don't put in effort.
Deviant,
well,
everything
okay,
you just
cool,
said,
man. There's
everything
nothing
you
you
just
content,
said was
you know,
pretty
right.
much true. I mean, if someone else has more viewers and more likes being pulled in, they're doing better.
You're doing better view-wise, doesn't mean your content's better.
But it does if people are clicking on it to watch, hence the term view.
Yeah, that's pretty much
Well,
what it
the view
means.
doesn't equal better quality of content, though.
But it does if people click on it to watch. See, we're going around in circles now. You've painted yourself into a hole.
Hey, remember how ElsaGate would rack in millions and millions of views, even though the content was terrible and aimed toward children, despite not being very appropriate for children? Ah, man. Yep, I remember that. Yep, yeah, I guess that content was just definitively better than, I guess, both of our contents, since it makes, you know, millions more views. I guess that's the logic you're trying to use. It's definitively better. Because views determine the quality of something.
Let's say that if we have two people who make the same type of content and get recommended equally, the one who puts higher effort in their videos will get more views as a general rule of thumb. However, when you factor in things like titles, type of content, how much the algorithm recommends them, demographics, etc., it becomes difficult to determine, so I think that they are both right in their own ways here. Quite honestly, while Crow did not bring up the Elsa point in the call, I believe that both Crow and TJV are both right here because
You can have your opinion, and that is fine, but the fact of the matter is that statistics are facts. You cannot change that.
Yeah,
A
the
fact-
statistics are facts of, you know, views and stuff, not quality of content.
It is no.
But people click on the video.
No, no,
That's
no.
the problem, comrade.
Statistically,
Statistically, you have
It is a
small
fact
cock.
of-
Statistically, I have big cock.
well,
I
listen.
had-
Looking at no offense, looking at your
Brother,
listen, right?
I
Looking
haven't
at
even
your
puberty yet. I
looking,
think I have bigger.
Look,
looking
my
at your
cock is
Twitter pictures,
50%
looking at your
bigger
Twitter pictures, my friend.
than the
Okay,
average
you
cock.
can have a big dick all you want, but if you have face of mountain bear, nobody will go near you.
I have a face of mountain bear.
You look like my babushka around 85 years old, my friend. So
Ooh, let's compare. Send a selfie in the chat. Let's compare. I bet you look beautiful, baby boy.
Well, I can do you one better, my friend. I can turn on my camera and I can tell you now, I do look better.
Oh, yep. Just that's your face. I was fuck. That's exactly what I thought.
Yeah, exactly.
Fucking bitch boy lips. Oh, that's
Claims bitch boy as he's bitching like a bitch.
my friend's been kind of lonely. He's been needing a good tit suck.
Your friend. What?
Alright.
Now, I'm not one to shit talk someone else's physical appearance due to it being a low blow and 9 times out of 10 unrelated to the point at hand, but you literally look like this and you want to trash on how someone else looks? Get that ego out of here. He looks better than you, bad lighting aside. But what really gets me in this video is that towards the end, Crow decides to do a little money flex and brag about how she's gotten money from all of these views.
Also, another thing you should probably tell them is when you do something like this to a channel that's monetized, I get money for it.
Yeah, guys, Deviant Crow gets money from her videos, so she's in the right. So you guys, better back off. You can't criticize her.
Because if you go down to write your big old spread of comments, you probably didn't pause the video for the ad, and when you watch an ad, usually that gives me money. Not a great amount of money, but it's still fucking money I got because your fan base decided to rapidly attack me. So not only did this video not damage me, it actually gave me some money. By far, although it's not my most popular video, it is my highest earning video, beating videos with much higher views than it, like the TF2 Iceberg.
Okay, so this whole spiel that Crow shout out basically boils down to, well, I make money from my videos, so okay, you make money from your videos, and what does that have to do with any of your arguments? You think you're in the right because you're eligible for YouTube monetization and you make money? Those are completely unrelated points. This point is just unnecessary and simply makes you look like a douche. Flexing with money when it is irrelevant to the argument at hand. Starting to sound a bit like Rice Gum there. You might want to tone it down. And also looking at her money that she's made, like, dog, that's not a lot of money. Congrats. You can go to your local convenience store and buy some chips and a drink. This is the first time I've seen somebody try and use the fact that they're monetized on YouTube as a legitimate argument point for their video. This whole segment with TJV only shows how irresponsible Crow is. It's one thing to make a video where you disagree with another person and post it publicly, and it's another thing to go and raid their Discord and harass their members and still act like you're in the right for doing it. Your points in both videos I covered were weak at best and insane at worst. That's all I have to say for this segment.
Alright, anything you want to say before you're banned from the server?
Yeah,
No,
you-
we can leave
Baba
here,
Booey,
Trevor.
Baba
This
Booey,
is his
Howard Stern's
tournament.
penis, Baba Booey, Howard Stern's penis.
I'm on a sugar crash, I ain't gonna fucking cash. Maybe I should take a bath, cut my fucking brain in half.
Now the next person on Crow's hit list is a YouTuber called MangaKamen, who appears to be your standard issue commentary YouTuber who talks about stuff. I watched some of their videos to get a better idea of who they are, and they seem okay, just standard YouTube commentary. However, for some reason, Crow decided that they wanted to start beef with them based on the fact that they are apparently a pretentious asshole.
But at worst, he's a pretentious asshole.
They are also apparently a centrist. Yeah, how dare MangaKamen want to verify that Biden won fairly? You know, the guy who is currently running the US, especially when you consider how Trump was scrutinized for working with Russia for most of his term, even though that ultimately didn't lead anywhere. Now, I'm not going to go too in-depth covering this video because there is already a detailed video on this by Nico Royam that you can check out if you want. I'll leave a link in the description because I still have more topics to cover against Crow. But I wanted to show off some of the more insane points that Crow makes against manga in his 2-year-old video. Let's get into it.
Let's address the elephant in the room because I know someone's gonna bring up this old saga I did on the Artist Meltdown. And look, I'm not super proud of those videos. There's a few areas where I definitely fucked up there, but I believe I've become a better creator since then, and I've grown to learn more things about art and how it's done. And yeah, maybe I'll cover those videos, yes, cover my own videos in the future, because there is some bad points I made in that video and some points I didn't really make clear. And the only reason I'm addressing it is because these are similar topics.
Well, considering how most of the points that I'm covering were made after those art videos, I would say that no, you have not improved. You continue to make bad, ill-informed, and poorly researched points in your future videos, and continuously act like you're still in the right even when proven otherwise. And after seeing this video, spoiler alert, you also get a bunch of things wrong.
But of course, you've got those people. The people who act like the moral police and acting like they know how they can fix a design. One such example is this. Now, the artist who did this claims that Nessa is now no longer hypersexualized and her back makes sense. Oh no, a design of a character has sex appeal. Why does that need to be fixed?
Well, it could be argued that Pokemon is a kid's game, so putting sexualization in a game made for children is a bit, inappropriate. And look, I know I'm gonna get some asshat coming in here being like, well, it's not just for kids, and yeah, I agree, it's not just for kids, but it is the main demographic for a game like Pokemon. And personally for me, it's a bit iffy putting in sexualized designs in a game that's targeted towards kids mostly. And another thing is, not everyone likes the sexualization of characters, whether due to personal reasons or more complex reasons like sexuality.
Okay, I have no idea what both of you are on right now because you both missed a point here. Like, I hate to break it to you both, but Nessa isn't hypersexualized or sexualized just for wearing a swimsuit. It looks like she's wearing a swimsuit. There's nothing sexy about it, and it makes sense because when you consider how she's a water-type gym leader, so it's not really that surprising that a water-type gym leader has clothing suitable for the water. And while you can argue that swimsuits can be sexualized, this is clearly not one of those times. And by itself, swimsuits aren't sexual.
Personally, myself, I don't like it when there's a lot of sexualization in any TV show I watch, especially anime. One of the major reasons I don't watch a lot of anime is because of the sexualization and fan service seems to get away in the plot, and when I come to watch something or play a game, I'm not looking for sexualization. If I wanted something to jack off to, I'd go watch porn.
Bruh, you complain about anime being over-sexualized and you're a furry. Like, do you not have any self-awareness? Especially when you consider that the state of the furry community is notorious for the sheer amount of sexual debauchery that goes on in there. On an unrelated note, I don't know why people play FPS games when you can just sign up for the military and shoot people IRL. A bit of an exaggeration, but it should give you a good reason as to why Crow's "if I wanted to watch fan service, I'd just watch porn" argument is flawed.
And I think the perfect way to sum this up is what my girlfriend once said. I admit it's a good looking design, but I wouldn't say it's fixed. As a woman and an artist, I say you can draw the human body and not have it be sexualized. The original design is perfect. Followed her gymnast background. What, are women no longer allowed to wear leotards?
I really hate the point shown here. The whole, oh, are women not allowed to wear this anymore? Or more commonly, oh, are women not allowed to look sexy anymore? But the art piece wasn't judging people for what they wear, it was, at most, judging people for what they draw. This post makes no statement on what people wear, rather what they design and what they see as sexualized designs. And like I said before, there's nothing wrong with making sexualized designs. But there's also nothing wrong with not liking those sexualized designs and wanting to see them be not sexualized. And although MangaKamen girlfriend does say, oh, what, are you not allowed to have sexualized character designs anymore? That's still not the point the original post made either. Like I mentioned earlier, in some forms of when people go to see certain forms of entertainment, they go for escapism, and sometimes they want to escape stuff like sexualization.
Crow, you are completely missing the point. MangaKamen's girlfriend never said that the design was sexualized. In fact, she was arguing against saying that it was sexualized because a leotard isn't something sexual. She asks if women aren't allowed to wear leotards because of how the OP is implying that leotards are sexual. And if you're looking to escape sexualization in video games, there are many video games out there. I'm sure you can find some games that you like that don't have anything sexual in them.
Also, about this disclaimer right here. Yeah, that's fine. That's not an anti-criticism thing. They don't want you to repost or re-upload artwork because, you know, that's the original artist ends up not getting credit for it. They don't want you to edit it because of, you know, tracing and art theft and all that stuff. Quote retweets can hurt the artist. If you quote retweet something, then the person likes the post, those likes aren't going to the original artist. The original artist might even get less attention because of the quote retweet. That's why artists like it when you retweet instead of quote retweet. You know, for someone that claims to know an artist, I'm surprised you don't know these things. They're very common.
This is in response to MangaKamen making fun of someone's bio for saying not to repost or edit their art. Again, Crow misses a point that manga made here. He is not a hypocrite for saying this. He's just making fun of the bio of the person who posted that edit because of how they re-uploaded someone else's art and edited it. Something that person is opposed to people doing to their work, but they have no problem doing to other people. He is pointing out the hypocrisy of that person.
In addition, I find the whole fixing other people's art to be really disrespectful in some regards, especially when it's delivered like this. It gives off a whole egotism feel with, I'm better than you, this is how it should be done! Again, you can disagree with how an artist draws something or criticize them, but you shouldn't dogpile them.
How is fixing art any way different from any other form of criticism? You're still saying, in any form of criticism, you say, okay, this is what you did wrong, and this is how you could do better. This is what the art is doing. By fixing the art, they're saying, this is how you could do it better. So here you are, disregarding criticism on the basis that it's dogpiling. Funnily enough, you're disregarding someone's thoughts and opinions because it's not morally right to act that smug and annoying. Even though, at worst, it's just criticism. Harsh, maybe? Yeah, but still criticism.
To no one's surprise, Crow yet again misses the point. MangaKamen isn't complaining about criticism himself. He even says that it's fine if you do criticize. He is complaining about the way people criticize art and how they look egotistical. In short, criticizing the way people deliver criticism, i.e. fixing art as an example. And even then, editing someone else's art is considered dickish and rude, and artists do not take kindly to people doing that. Especially if you say stuff like, I fixed it, because at that point you're just being disrespectful to the artist's work. Case in point, some artists took another artist's Sonic fan art and edited one of the characters to be black because they thought they were whitewashing because apparently Knuckles is black coded, which sounds racist as fuck. And when they predictably got backlash for it, they tried to claim that Knuckles was black coded and tried to deflect blame off onto triggered Sonic fans. Like, Knuckles isn't human, so you can't really base him on like black or white human skin colors. If they wanted to draw their own interpretation of Knuckles as a black human, that's fine, but you can't take other people's art and edit it without permission. That's a sore point for many artists, like in this example where the original artist blocked her. I'm starting to think that Deviant Crow is just making arguments in bad faith. She repeatedly misinterprets points MangaKamen makes and twists them to try and fit her narrative. Like he says one thing and Crow immediately stretches it out to try and make him say something he didn't.
So, there were two artists, and they both drew Nessa. One is known as Merryweather, and the other, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to butcher this, Najuko. Again, if I get this name wrong, remember, you're listening to the guy who somehow mispronounced Kakyoin in his video talking about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. You know what you were getting yourself into when you clicked this video! So, both of them post a picture on their Twitter showing Nessa. And you may be wondering, what the hell is wrong with these pictures? It's because it's a lighter palette for their skin. It's because they used a lighter palette for her skin. And apparently, this is whitewashing, and these two artists aren't good for it.
This artist can draw however they'd like, and I think that's great. But acting like they have a grasp of color and value, and that this is an accurate portrayal of her skin tone, is just not correct. Her skin is lighter here.
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
Thank you for telling me that this artist is not good because of that. I didn't realize there were rules to drawing and coloring a character for fan art, that you have to draw them exactly the same, and they must be 100% correct to the original source material.
Except they said the exact opposite of what you claim they're saying. They said themselves, this artist can draw however they like. They're just pointing out that they got the skin color wrong. They're not even saying the person is bad, they're just wrong. Is it bad to say that people are wrong and they mess up? Is that morally grandstanding to you? No, that's criticism, you dumb fuck.
You're a fucking idiot.
Well, sorry to burst your little bubble, Crow, but you intentionally cut out the part where they're like, but, and basically say that isn't okay / wrong. Also, the artists there didn't really do anything wrong because first off, Nessa is still black. She's only a lighter shade of black because, as you can see, they used brighter colors, and if you factor in lighting, it's no wonder that Nessa appears lighter in both cases. This is especially noticeable on the second Nessa, where all the other colors are bright / pastel, and it makes sense that Nessa would also be lighter by extension. And when you do fan art, you aren't required to make it exactly the same, especially when you factor in lighting and overall color palettes.
Oh, but what if I told you it gets even worse? He defends whitewashing.
Because these people decided to make this into a bigger deal, you've got people who are actually doing this to Nessa now, just to troll them!
Basically what he's trying to say is, because if these people made some criticism and one person might have been a dick about it, and that gives people the right to whitewash this character, to troll them at least. You know, it isn't just bad enough that he defends whitewashing, but what makes it worse is that through this whole video he's like, hey guys, can we try to have a discussion about this? What about the respectful discussion? But he also is fine with people trolling and being assholes and doing something racially insensitive.
Okay, at this point, I can't tell if you're really fucking dumb or if you're deliberately misinterpreting points in order to try and push your own agenda. MangaKamen never supported whitewashing in that segment. He was only describing the events that happened, and he even describes these actions as trolling, which is a word that has a negative association with it. Like, if I hear that someone did some trolling, I would assume that, oh, they did something bad. I honestly don't get how you can hear what MangaKamen said about whitewashing and think, yeah, he's defending this. You are deliberately twisting his words out of context at this point. Like, how do you hear somebody retell an event that happened and somehow jump to the conclusion that they're supporting it? Retelling an event does not mean you support it.
Like I've said before, artists have a real problem with accepting criticism. They get really, really antsy about it.
I like how you decide to try and convince us that artists have a problem with accepting criticism by linking videos that you yourself say are not good and poorly made. For crying out loud, do you even admit these are bad videos in the beginning of your video on manga?
Let's address the elephant in the room because I know someone's gonna bring up this old saga I did on the Artist Meltdown. And look, I'm not super proud of those videos. There's a few areas where I definitely fucked up there.
Like, if these videos are so bad, why are you citing them to try and make your point about artists and criticism? And artists generally don't have a problem with criticism. They have a problem with people being dicks and spamming them with vague, unhelpful statements because people don't like something.
See, MangaKamen is doing one of the following. He's rather being a fucking idiot and doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. Clearly there's proof of that with the lack of research he's done. Or two, he's trying to frame this type of criticism as bad. He's purposely mislabeling people as being pretentious when they give out criticism, despite being pretentious himself.
At least manga doesn't falsely stretch words and label people as supporting racism when they don't. The projection from Crow is insane right now. She has stretched and twisted manga's points so much, and she has the audacity to try and project her wrongdoings onto him and acts downright delusional throughout the whole vid. You don't know what you're talking about. Your last video where you gave your art takes are proof of that. In fact, every art-related video you have is terrible where you give your takes on artists. She still also doesn't understand the difference between criticism and fixing art, where one gives the artist tips and helps them improve while the other is just someone being rude and disrespectful. Deviant Crow wasn't satisfied with her one video attacking MangaKamen, so she decides to make the bright choice of making another one. Now, I will sum this one up extremely quickly, so if you want to look at the video yourself to make sure I'm not taking anything out of context, be my guest. So basically, Manga made a video on some creator named ElyOtto because she had writing tips, and while some of them were actual writing tips, most of them were basically just her preferences disguised as writing tips. Crow tries to defend Lily here by saying that her points were true and valid. Yeah, her points were so good that when she released those writing tips, she got criticisms to the point of deleting the entire thread. She didn't even have the backbone to try and defend herself. Looking through the video, it's pretty obvious that Crow favors Lily due to the sheer defense she is playing for her, despite Crow claiming that she doesn't favor Lily in her video. Well, I did a bit of research on ElyOtto, and it turns out that Lily isn't a good person. She has done many scummy things, from your standard falsely accusing people as Nazis and racists, to more extreme stuff like harassment and dogpiling people. There's even pedophilia allegations about her involving a certain MOP fanfic she made called Stockholm, so I don't really know why Crow's dick riding for Lily so hard here. And before you ask me if I think this cringe MOP fanfic is an actual point against Lily, by itself, no, it isn't. However, when you factor in Crow and Lily's views on the subject matter in that fanfic, it makes Lily a massive hypocrite, and even without this, she is still a bad person for reasons listed earlier. Crow also had a segment in that video where she discusses how MangaKamen had an unreasonable meltdown over Twitter because of her. Yeah, I like how you deliberately cut out the parts where you harassed and spammed him on his Twitter messages, even on completely unrelated posts, in order to make yourself look better. Add to the fact that he was already going through a lot during that time period with other fucked events, so I don't really blame him for having enough and finally snapping on Crow. Looking at this, it's pretty obvious that Crow has it out for manga and just wanted to make videos to harass him for clout without any real reason, because that video she made on manga was really disoriented and unclear. Now, I'm going to take a break from going in reverse chronological order to analyze this video, as considering how the last part I did was art related, it flows in nicely. Now, initially, I wasn't going to cover this video because A, it was already covered to death by lots of other people when it was released, and B, Deviant Crow herself admits that the video was bad. And this is a pretty old video, and you know, people can learn from their past mistakes and change. However, considering how A, Deviant Crow cites those videos in her video against MangaKamen as a point against him, and B, has no problem using old videos herself in order to go after people, i.e. MangaKamen and PhantomStrider, so I guess I'll quickly cover this video too. And considering how she's made so many flawed videos after those art ones, it's clear that Crow didn't learn from this. Like the MangaKamen segment, this video has been debunked pretty heavily, so I will be going over this lightly. The main premise of this video is her mauling over the fact that an artist is pointing out a double standard where people will complain about sexy women but not sexy men. Let's get into it.
The bitching and boo-hooing about, oh, people are criticizing my art! Oh, it's so hard on me! I have to get criticism like, you know, every artist does! These kind of artists cover up the fact they don't like getting criticism with stupid bullshit.
Normally, you would be right on the fact that everyone gets criticism, but when the criticism is just meaningless spam that serves no purpose other than people being annoying, like, where are her organs at, or bad art with no explanation, then yeah, that's not really criticism and it's more like an insult.
Like trying to point out a double standard that doesn't exist. The first thing they complain about is, oh, they call my art sexist. But isn't this drawing of a man also sexy? Isn't that sexist? Well, here's the difference, dumbass. You see, one's a power fantasy, let's take JoJo's Bizarre Adventure as an example. Now, I don't watch that show, but I know it has a lot of strong men. The reason they have strong characters is because it's cool to see. It's a fantasy with power, a power fantasy. And even if you take out the power fantasy thing, you can at least say, oh man, this guy is strong. He has power.
That's very interesting. So strong, muscular men are power fantasies for men? Hey, what's this? What are these male power fantasies doing in books written for women? Could you explain that to me? Why these woman-oriented books have strong, muscular men in them? It's almost like women themselves like strong, muscular men. It's not just a man thing. It's not a power fantasy. Especially when you consider that most women are heterosexual, meaning they like men.
Meanwhile, drawing with this body figure and for mostly like sexual purposes can be seen as, you know, just drawing a sex object. Now, I'm not saying drawing porn is inherently bad because you're creating sex objects, but at least be fucking honest about it.
This person really just said that a sexy woman is like a sex object. So you view sexy women as sex objects? That totally does not sound creepy at all, calling a woman a sex object just because they look sexy, and you totally don't need a refresher on what consent means. That's sarcasm, by the way.
They call me a fatphobe. No, they fucking don't. Most of the time when I see bullshit posts like this, no one's complaining about, oh, you're a fatphobe. People are complaining that you gave your, like, little to no fucking girth or weight to her. You gave her unrealistic anatomy. Where are her organs at? They always ask me that. It's so unfair. No, it's fucking not. It's legitimate criticism. You ever heard of, anatomy? That's one of the things they teach you in, like, art school and shit. Or when you learn to draw, you want to learn to draw good anatomy. And, people can actually criticize you for having shit anatomy.
Believe it or not, asking where her organs at does nothing to give additional context on what the artist did wrong. It's just a vague insult along the same lines as saying this sucks and not elaborating on why, especially on a stylized drawing. And your statement about art schools is just flat out wrong, especially considering how other artists are telling you that while you do learn about anatomy in art school, you should also bend/break the rules to fit your drawing style. Like, this art is stylized and you can clearly see that they have the general proportions down. And looking at their other works, they also draw four-armed people. Like, are you really saying that a woman with a sexy body is more unrealistic than someone with four arms? And you are fully aware that these are stylized drawings subject to the artist's whim, right? Like, based on your logic, any cartoon is unrealistic/bad anatomy as it doesn't look like a real human being. Oh my god, they made the heads in Dexter's laboratory bigger than a body. What the fuck? Bad anatomy, dogshit art. Wow, look at Picasso. He can't even draw a proper human body or face. Bad anatomy, terrible art. How do people even view him as a great artist? He's got unrealistic proportions. No real human looks like this. It's honestly just bad anatomy.
You may have heard that this is unrealistic anatomy, and that's because it is. Well, it's somewhat realistic. You can probably get it with, like, plastic surgery, but you can't realistically get it. Well, what about this muscular body type? Well, first, it's actually okay anatomy, huh? I can visualize this having fucking organs, so there's not a double standard there. Although this body type is hard to get, and for some it's impossible because some people don't have that body type, it's at least more realistic and looks good.
Well, considering the fact that there are real-life women who do look like that without plastic surgery, your claim is simply false. While you can make the argument that they are rare, they still exist regardless, and it looks like you're just trying to body shame people due to you saying that they don't exist without plastic surgery. And buff guys are pretty hard to come by too, yet people don't complain about them. And just because you can visualize something doesn't mean that you are right/it is true. Believe it or not, it just means that you are deluded and don't know the real world.
And I know it's a Twitter post. You can't really do much with just a single Twitter post or even a drawing that matter to do it. But if you can't do it well, then don't do it at all. You know what, actually, I shouldn't say that. My videos aren't good or very good, but hey, they're good enough. They do what they're meant to do. But if you can't explain why the criticisms are bad in a good way, then why even fucking do it?
Well, considering your MangaKamen video and this one, you are not good at talking about art / critiquing it and shouldn't do it for the sake of everyone. And after looking at your channel as a whole, you should stop doing commentary for everyone's sake. You know, follow your own advice. Since based on your like to dislike ratios on your videos, you clearly don't do a good enough job. The rest of this video is just them screeching and sounding absolutely insane about how artists are just trying to deflect getting actual criticism and something about preaching to the fucking choir with these double standard statements while they ignore the fact that spamming the same brain dead arguments over and over without any actual tips doesn't help much, which I already covered. But do you really want to know the funny part about this? Aside from the fact that Crow had a meltdown over a single picture and a like to dislike ratio on her video? Normally, when people get a terrible like to dislike ratio on one of their videos with many disapproving comments, they think to themselves, oh gee, what did I do wrong? From there, they have several options they can take. A, never touch on that topic again and focus on other topics that they're better suited at. B, next time do more research before making a video. Or C, double down on their bad take. Well, the correct answer that Crow did is D, none of the above, because Crow didn't just double down on her bad take. She tripled down. That's right, they made 3 extra videos on this topic. Think about it. Crow had a breakdown for about an hour all over a single picture, which is pretty sad if you ask me. And before anyone asks if I'm going to cover the rest of these videos, I'm not, because A, this video right now is already very long, and B, Crow herself admits that her first video was shit. And since the rest of those videos are defending her first one, they are also shit by extension. It's basically just her trying to justify her bad take. I'm just astounded at how someone can be told by so many others that they are in the wrong with proof and still believe that they are in the right. And while the art videos were made about a year ago, the other videos that I cover aren't and are more recent with poor takes and plenty of misinformation. Now this topic is quite interesting for me to cover because, fun fact, this video was how I first found Crow's YouTube channel and dived right down into the subsequent rabbit hole. So a while back, Leafy got banned, which made many waves throughout the internet. As a result, many people decided to talk about this event. One of these people was Deviant Crow. Let's see what she has to say. Or as Leafy would say, play that shit!
So recently, Leafyishere was banned from YouTube. And usually I don't talk about, YouTube drama bullshit unless I have anything of merit to say. And I do. Apparently a lot of people want to blame PhantomStrider for it because Leafy did a video on them. Honestly, I don't give a shit if PhantomStrider was responsible for it because Leafy generally deserved to get kicked off the site. The whole point of Leafy's content was to pretty much make fun of people and mock them. And sure, that's fine if you're doing it to someone that deserves it. For example, making fun of Trump is okay because 1, he's rich, making fun of him is probably barely going to affect him. 2, he's a major fucking asshole that deserves mockery. He's been ruining people's lives for quite a while, so he genuinely deserves all the hate he gets.
Well, let's go over your first point about how it's okay to bully people if they're rich and an asshole / dick. Looking at PhantomStrider, she is one of the biggest Twitch streamers on one of the most popular websites, Twitch. So it is not surprising that she is very rich, which in Crow's own words means that it's barely going to affect her because she's rich. Now that one requirement is down, what about her being a dick? Well, let's see here. First, she falsely copyright struck Boblax because he used a clip of her in a video that was fair use. So we already have false copyright strikes. Then there's the incident with It's a Gundam, where PhantomStrider tries to get his sponsors taken out because he made a video poking fun at one of her fans. And I should not have to remind anyone here that trying to take away someone's source of income during a global pandemic is, to put it lightly, a dick move. So, based on your own words, Crow, since Pokimane is rich and a dick, it is okay to make fun of her. So, Leafy did nothing wrong. Not even 2 minutes in a video and already there's a major issue in her points. This is gonna be fun.
The problem with Leafy's content for a very long time, and well, it never really stopped for the most part, is that he wouldn't go out of his way to make fun of people that were like real assholes. He would go out of his way to make fun of rather children or the mentally disabled. The problem with Leafy's fan base is that they were undeniably toxic. In one case, even getting an autistic YouTuber death threats and shit. And sure, you could really say, oh well, you can't control your fan base. Well, if monkeys see, monkeys gonna do. If monkey sees you mocking someone, they're gonna go out and mock someone. And I don't know if I should have to explain this, but the internet is filled with toxic assholes who often aren't very fucking nice or tasteful in their mockery.
While I do believe that Leafy did take it too far when he made those videos on children/disabled people, and he did deserve to be called out and ridiculed for that, it is ridiculous for YouTube to retroactively apply punishment for videos that existed for years before they updated their terms of service, assuming that's what he was banned for. Basically, Leafy's videos were grandfathered in and shouldn't be the reason why he was banned. People should not be punished for old videos that they made before any TOS changes. Leafy's videos right before he got banned consisted of him making fun of people with millions of followers, like Pokimane, so much different from those old videos that he made. He was also not nearly as toxic as he was back then. Like, if I was to compare one of his videos right before he got banned with one of his videos he made a few years back, the difference would be extremely noticeable. And your point about his fanbase is moot because it's true. Leafy doesn't have any control over what his fans say or do. He doesn't control them. And your monkey see, monkey do point is invalid because while people are closely related to monkeys, we are not monkeys. We are humans with autonomy over ourselves and what we do. So, unless Leafy himself told his fans to go attack people, you cannot hold him responsible for what some nutters in his fanbase does.
But you might be asking, that was back in 2017.
Wrong year, it happened back in 2016.
Why didn't YouTube ban him then? Why are they banning him now? The reason they didn't ban him back then is because, well, Leafy was getting a lot of views, and those views turn into money because of ad revenue. So YouTube probably couldn't care less if this guy was being a toxic asshole, going out of his way to make emotionally vulnerable people feel like utter shit. The only reason I can assume they ban Leafy now is because 1, he's not making YouTube any fucking money. 2, he's a fucking asshole, and maybe now YouTube's like, maybe we should actually enforce the rules we have.
The thing is, YouTube didn't make any profit from their site. In fact, they lost money due to the large costs of maintaining the site until recently. The only reason why YouTube was still up despite these financial losses was because what YouTube lacked in profit, it more than made up in influence and visibility. And YouTube did care about what Leafy did back then, because back in 2017 there was a leaked email where it was revealed that YouTube had been plotting about what to do about problematic creators like him and many others. And we still don't know why YouTube banned Leafy, because they never gave a reason outside of some vague message that is wide open to interpretation.
And let's not get it wrong, Leafy's content was always against the terms of service. And you can't even argue, oh, it's just harmless banter, because it wasn't fucking harmless banter. The fact that YouTube took down iDubbbz's content cop on Leafy in, a video where he points out that Leafy commonly goes out of his way to punch down at people is, kind of a shitty thing. The fact that YouTube went out of its way to take down a video supposedly bullying a bully is, dog shit, because Leafy was definitely doing a lot worse for a long time. From my perspective, this is obviously YouTube trying to look good and great to people by doing the bare fucking minimum.
Holy shit, your double standard is insane. So Leafy can't make videos bullying people for their looks, but iDubbbz can. Because in his content cop, he spends a good portion of the video roasting Leafy's appearance, which is against YouTube's TOS of bullying people. Like, you say it's good that Leafy gets taken down for old content, while bitching about YouTube removing iDubbbz's content cop on Leafy, which also violates TOS, and as a result, should be taken down by your logic.
The fact that dumbasses like Scarce are going, "Oh no! Even if you weren't a fan of his videos, Leafy termination is very, very concerning. Leafy being terminated now means any of us could be next. Well, if you're an asshole like he was, you should be next." Let me make it clear. If you're a YouTuber that saw Leafy being taken down, and your first thought is, "Oh no, I could be next," you're either a massive asshole like him, and you should be next, or you're an idiot that doesn't understand that Leafy got taken down for breaking the rules. As long as you don't break the fucking rules by being a massive cunt like he was, then you have nothing to worry about.
Crow, you completely missed the point. People aren't worried because they're an asshole like Leafy. They're worried because if YouTube can remove a 5 million sub channel from their platform without giving a proper reason, then what is stopping YouTube from removing other smaller channels without giving a proper reason? This situation would be the same if it wasn't Leafy who was banned. Because believe it or not, banning someone without a proper reason is unfair. Like, I get it if you don't like Leafy's content, and I can understand why, but you cannot seriously tell me you are fine with a massive channel just being removed, and YouTube won't even list the specific videos as to why. And I like how you try and go for the public shaming route, specific reasons as to why large YouTubers get banned. If you're against this, you're an asshole. Yeah, okay, people are assholes for wanting YouTube to actually acknowledge.
Then you have dumbasses that go, "Anyone who is a content creator celebrating Leafy is here getting terminated on YouTube should also celebrate when their channel gets terminated by this nebulous guidelines by YouTube." This is a stupid comment to make because the YouTube guidelines are as clear as fucking day. Don't go out of your way to bully and harass someone. Don't fucking do it. This is in the rules. The CANT has been terminated due to multiple severe violations of YouTube's policy prohibiting content designed to harass, bully, or threaten.
Yeah, the YouTube guidelines are so clear because YouTube is well known for being transparent with the community and upfront. Yeah, no, YouTube is well known for being extremely confusing and broken. There's tons of content creators who bitch about how YouTube falsely removes content that they say violate their TOS for things that never happen. These YouTubers oftentimes have to go on Twitter, in fact, to even get YouTube's attention or to resolve the issue most of the time. Keyword, most of the time. One notorious example of YouTube being vague is their monetization policy, where they don't even tell you what words will get you demonetized because apparently people will try and exploit this system. As a result, this leaves people to try and figure that out on their own. Case in point, YouTube is vague in their TOS and the system is broken, resulting in tons of false flags.
YouTube, at the end of the day, is like any company. They don't give a shit about you. They don't give a shit about the creators. They don't give a shit about the customers. They care about the monies.
Holy shit, Deviant Crow finally made a decent point that YouTube is bad. Took you long enough. The rest of this video is basically just Crow bitching about how Leafy deserves to be banned and how there's proof of it despite YouTube never giving us a proper reason why. And if you are against his banning, you are an asshole, which is interesting because for some strange reason, YouTube refuses to tell us the specific videos that led to Leafy's termination. And if he truly is that problematic to the point of banning him, then surely YouTube would be able to give us specifics instead of some vague statement. Not to mention the fact that before Leafy got banned, he got a strike on one of his videos and appealed it before YouTube decided to hit him with 3 simultaneous strikes and remove him outright. Like, what was the point of appealing that first strike then? He also managed to get on trending too before getting banned, which is strange because if his videos violated TOS, why did YouTube appeal strikes, unage restrict his videos, and put his videos on trending if they apparently violated TOS? That doesn't make any sense. And since YouTube won't open up about why Leafy got banned, we can only speculate the what and why. If you guys want to see more about Leafy getting banned, you can check out my video I made when Leafy got banned. But Crow's video on Leafy was terrible and poorly thought out, and the only agreeable point was that YouTube is ass. The only reason why she made this video was to express her hate boner for Leafy and celebrate someone getting banned off a platform just because it's someone she dislikes. I would also like to state that there are much more worse people who still have their YouTube accounts. Notable examples being Logan Paul and his infamous Suicide Forest trip, and Minilad sending his Minilad to Minilads, aka sending nudes to minors. The fact that they still have their channels up, when at worst what Leafy did before he got banned was mild shit talk and clickbait, is infuriating. Crow has also made a video on a YouTuber known as ScottFalco, who is primarily known as a YouTuber slash animator, and in Crow's videos on him, she levies pedophilia accusations against him. Now, what could have Scott done that would warrant such actions? Because as we all know, pedophilia accusations are very heavy business. Did he send nudes to a minor? Try and groom an underage fan? Well, let's look at the video and find out.
Today we'll be looking at ScottFalco. Now, what possibly bad thing does ScottFalco do? I know I already did a video on this, but let's do a bit of explaining since maybe not everyone's caught up on this. Now, ScottFalco, on his Nazi4 account, retweeted porn of a character that's a child. Now, that's obviously shit, that's obviously disgusting, but you know what? Not everybody knows the character is a child, so I decided to ask him, hey, what's up? Why did you do this? And when I asked them, what did they do? They blocked me, huh?
Okay, so first off, nice censorship job, by the way. You can still see a nipple on the bottom center of the picture, and I had to cover that part up, which is wonderful. But let's talk about the point that you made. First off, it's a fucking cartoon character. Who gives a shit? Like, your issue is that the character is apparently underage in the show that she's in. But the thing is, it's a cartoon character not based in reality, and as a result, the age is arbitrary and doesn't matter for cartoon characters, especially considering how the design of the character wouldn't change even if you change the age and it would still be fine. For example, let's say Cynthia from Pokemon. If I say she's 14, would it be pedophilia if you drew porn of her? No, because she's not real, so the age isn't relevant considering how we're talking about fictional, made-up characters here. Another similar comparison that I can make is with Jotaro Kujo, who is 17, but he looks like a fully grown man. Like, I get why the age thing can bother you, but to equate it to pedophilia is just flat out wrong and dilutes down the meaning of pedophilia, especially when there are actual child predators and maps out there trying to fuck real kids. I also found it interesting how you decided to save and re-upload what you believed to be child porn and not even censor it properly. Not that it would be okay if it was re-uploaded censored. Quite interesting, if I do say so. But we'll get to that point later. Crow then proceeds to show DM messages she has with Scott where she tries to debunk the various points made against her. She first claims that despite having attention whore in her bio at the time, she is not actually one and it's just a joke.
ScottFalco did later, after the video was released, did send me a message. Well, they might have sent me a message sooner, but they blocked me so I couldn't see it. But essentially, they gave me a message. The message is the following. Fine, but I wasn't aware of the character, but the fact you tagged my main account shows you were looking for drama. And playing to the attention whore, you advertise yourself in your account. First off, the whole attention whore thing is a joke. I don't actually think I'm an attention whore. And even if I was, this is still an issue that does raise some concern and should be addressed, Scott. You should know this is a joke. This, you're a comedian. You make jokes all the time. Hell, as we'll find out later, you even date one, huh?
Well, if you look at any of her other videos that I cover in this video, You will quickly see that this is not the case, and she is an attention whore, considering how her videos consist of poorly researched points on much bigger people for clickbait and attention. She also says that Scott has over-exaggerated her bothering his mutuals, stating that she only bothered one of them, and that was only because she couldn't get his attention.
Now, the reason why I did later tag your account is because you weren't responding in a timely manner. It felt like you were ignoring me despite the fact you were on. I get sometimes we're busy, so that's why I did that, to get your attention better. Now, the message continues to say, I blocked you when you started bothering mutuals too. Do what you want. Okay, but here's the problem with that. That's bullshit. By mutuals, you really mean like one person. And that's mostly because I was trying to reply to you off a tweet you replied to someone else. Because, yet again, I wasn't able to get your attention.
Well, considering how you are a small creator who randomly accused him of pedophilia over something petty, it's pretty obvious he didn't respond because he thinks you're crazy. In fact, in his DMs with you, he even says that he'll take the bait, indicating that he believes you're just trying to get a rise out of him for attention. And you still went out of your way to annoy/harass his mutual just for attention, so...
But hey now, he didn't know better. So that means he's off the hook, right? Incorrect. He never addresses if it was a bad thing or not, and that's the one thing I really wanted to hear. Him say, oh, well, I shouldn't have done this was a shitty thing, but he says, well, I didn't know better. Didn't say if it was bad or not, just said, I didn't know better.
What does Scott have to apologize for? Jacking off to cartoon characters? At worst, this whole situation is just slightly weird and not at all pedophilia like you claim. He's not required to apologize to anyone over this. He hasn't done anything wrong. You sound insane trying to push his pedo narrative over some random guy, whacking it to cartoon porn.
This is when Scott's girlfriend comes into play.
Oh great, more people get dragged into this stupid ass drama.
Because they actually decided to make a response to me. They didn't tag me. They didn't, message me personally. They just were like, you, without really saying my name. Basically, pussy ass move. But I was able to find it out immediately because I decided to do a bit of investigation.
What are you even talking about? In the tweet you show, it says the two people mentioned are you and Foxtrot, meaning that her replies will show up in your mentions since you're tagged, and her prior reply before that response mentions you. So all you have to do was check your notifications, which is hardly the whining behind your back and shit talking like you claim.
Foxtrot, ScottFalco's girlfriend, starts out by saying, for real though, you have no life if you are constantly harassing someone over what is essentially nothing. Okay, constantly harassing someone. Okay, tell me, show me where I've been constantly harassing someone. I, at the very most, sent 3 messages to this person. One of them was an @ on Twitter. That's not harassing them. After that, they blocked me, so I couldn't contact them further. Neither you, so how could I be harassing them? I warned other people that Scott was possibly doing a shitty thing, but that's not harassing Scott.
Bro, what do you mean that you didn't harass Scott? You literally implied that he was a pedophile, which is an extremely damning thing to say, especially over cartoon porn. Add to the fact that you randomly DM'd him multiple times on Twitter, and also added him on Twitter, basically trying to imply that he is a pedo is harassment. Not to mention that you also took this to unrelated people. Well, that's not harassing Scott, so you are admitting to harassing other people. Okay.
In Scott's case, it was different. This is still in fact a child. The original model wasn't changed too much. It wasn't aged up, and it still looks like a kid. It is still fucking disgusting.
So you decide to save and re-upload this fucking disgusting image for thousands of people to see online. Okay.
Now, before the second tweet Foxtrot made on the situation, guess what she decided to do? I guess she decided to stick it up to me by, get this, posting child porn herself. That's right, she has no shame in it, she has no guilt in it, she's just openly, showing art of children that are obviously underage. Here we have her retweeting after the first tweet and pointing me out that I'm being annoying, I'm being harassment, or some fucking shit. She decides to retweet porn of the character that I already pointed out was 16 now. So obviously, she not only knows why it's bad, but she doesn't give a shit. And she did this again and again.
Again, nice censorship job, but let's get into the main point. I like how you refer to this as child porn and make a big deal out of Foxtrot retweeting it, yet you decide to screenshot and download these images onto your computer and re-upload them onto YouTube for tons of other people to see. If this is truly child porn, like you say, then why are you redistributing it to the public? Why aren't you forwarding this stuff to the feds? Because believe it or not, child porn and the distribution of it is a federal offense. So if this is truly CP like you say, then you are guilty of distributing it and should be reported also. I don't know why your first thought when seeing what you believe to be CP was to make a video and not call the cops. Speaking of not calling the cops, I also noted that throughout this whole video, not once did you ever mention taking this up to any police figure or fed, despite saying that Scott and his girlfriend have been distributing CP. Is it because you are also distributing what you believe to be CP? Would that be too hard to explain to the cops? It's just unreal how you make such a big deal out of Scott and his girlfriend for retweeting what you believe to be CP, while you download said CP onto your computer hard drive before re-uploading it to the public for tons of other people to see. Like, I don't know about you guys here, but if someone posted CP, I would be reporting that to the feds and police instead of saving and re-uploading it to the public for everyone else to see. Quite honestly, your video is invalid based on that point alone. Although, don't worry guys, Crow is here finalizing her thoughts on the whole ScottFalco is a pedo situation after clickbaiting his name in a pedo allegation for views and attention. And before anyone asks if I'm pissed that she clickbaited, there's a difference between OMG, I got a 20 kill wipe using this epic loadout, must try, super slick, and OMG, this person is a pedophile, allegedly, type of clickbait. The second one needs more finesse/subtlety and actual concrete proof, which is something that Crow did not provide.
So it might still be a question if ScottFalco is a pedophile. That's still up for debate, but it's very clear that from what Foxtrot is tweeting that she's a pedophile. And before you say, oh, it's fictional, it's not real, it's still a child, you're still attracted to a child, you're still posting porn of a child. Maybe you're not attracted to it, maybe you're just doing this to spite, but you're still retweeting child porn, dude.
Well, I have no idea what kind of logic that is. This is some of the most weird and warped reasoning I have seen. So Scott isn't a pedo, even though you are saying that he retweeted porn of a child. According to you, he is not a pedo, while his girlfriend, Foxtrot, is, for doing the exact same thing because she apparently tried to piss you off. You basically said Foxtrot was a pedo because she tried to piss you off. What kind of broken logic is that? And don't even get me started on the fact that you have given Scott and Foxtrot shit for retweeting what you believe to be CP, yet you have no problem saving said CP and then re-uploading it onto YouTube. They both retweet what you believe to be CP, which you state for both Scott and his girlfriend in your video, and yet only one of them is a pedophile while the other isn't. Your decision to label Foxtrot as a pedo rather than Scott is clearly emotional because she pissed you off apparently. Clearly it seems like you aren't really taking this seriously and are just being willy-nilly with your accusations. Crow then proceeded to get into a slap fight with random people in the comments from her first ScottFalco video, which I will not cover due to it being the same thing as this one but much shorter, so my points already applied to it. Now let's see some of her rebuttals.
You seem to be quite keen of accusing people of being pedophiles. Even though I never accused, I was like, whoa, what's going on here, you creepy bastard? You doing something creepy? Are you sure you're the one not hiding something? I've seen this a lot of times when I've called out people for pedophilia or when other people have done it. Are you sure you're not hiding something? It's the dumbest reply anyone could fucking make. Because why would a pedophile go like, yeah, fuck that other pedophile, and draw more attention to themselves and possibly get themselves caught for being a pedophile? It's stupid.
You literally stated that Scott was retweeting child porn, and now you're trying to downplay as, oh, I was calling him out for being creepy. Bruh, you said he retweeted porn of a child, aka child porn. What conclusion did you want us to come to when you said that? Coupled with your video title where you ask if he's a pedo. Also, your rebuttal to the second part of that comment is incorrect, as people can make a fuss about others to draw attention away from themselves. It's called projection. And also the fact that male feminists exist.
What's the point of being this obnoxious? Clout? Leave the guy alone. It's very silly to even apply liking a character's designs reflects your attraction to real people. Well, let me make a short response to that. It's porn. Pornographic art is supposed to take things you like in a person or you like in a person and exaggerate them a bit so they can be more appealing. So if a pedophile is already sexually attracted to short chests and the body of a child, a cartoon version of that is going to work on that. And the child drawings I've already shown that been censored reflect that. So, yeah, it does imply...
Dog, I don't know what to tell you. You are making a really big deal out of what is essentially standard issue cartoon character Rule 34. I get if you don't like it, but this is such a stretch, trying to label Scott as a pedo/creep over it. You also don't address the clout issue whatsoever, and looking at the subscriber counts for both your channels, I can see why you would try and make this for views and attention. She covers one more comment, but it's really long, and I don't feel like stretching this video out any longer. So if you want to look at that video or any of the other videos to make sure I'm not twisting things out of context, be my guest.
So with all that evidence, can I truly say ScottFalco is a pedophile? No, I think he's just an idiot that won't explain himself clearly because he doesn't want to step on anyone's fucking toes. However, his girlfriend, on the other hand, Foxtrot, they're a pedophile. Obviously, they're retweeting pedophilic porn while knowing it's of underage kids. They may not like it. Maybe they don't have a sexual attraction to it. I can understand that. They're just doing it to piss me off. But really, that's bad too. Oh boy, I gotta retweet child porn to own the libs. That's a great idea. What a dumbass. So, you are innocent so far. You could change it in other days by saying, well, I like this stuff, I don't see anything wrong with it. But at the time of this court presentation, you are innocent. Stupid, but innocent.
You just repeated what you said 10 minutes ago, just rephrase. And if Foxtrot is retweeting child porn like you said, then you are also sharing child porn onto YouTube for other people to see. Very concerning if you ask me. What really gets me is when Crow says that Foxtrot is a pedophile, even though there is a clip where Crow did get questioned later on about this if she even knew what Foxtrot's views were on pedophilia, and Crow fails to answer, indicating that she doesn't even know the subject matter or what she's talking about.
A clip of him in a debate, a 1-hour debate, really justifies this. It's this clip right here.
Honestly, I don't know. I would have to do some research on that. I'll do this in a bit, and you can blather on about your points as well.
Wait, you made an entire video on this, and you didn't even know what her stance actually is?
The last 4 minutes of her ScottFalco video was just her begging people to like and sub, and then just dead air. You couldn't even clip that out. SMH. The only real interesting part of that segment is when she talks about how if Scott said what he did was stupid, Crow would forgive him and like his content again.
My genuine opinion is that Scott so far, he's an idiot. So far, I think at worst case, he's a fucking moron. And you know, I still like his content. I've never hated his content before. I've never had a bias against him before. I used to like him before this. Now I kind of dislike him, and he can. If he came out and said, you know what, I'm sorry, that shit was bad. Well, my girlfriend was also did was bad, and I promise not to do it again. That I would go right back to liking him and respecting him as a person. Of course I would.
Keep in mind that Crow said Scott retweeted porn of a child, which was the main point of her videos on him. Yeah, you retweeted CP, but you said it was stupid afterwards, so I forgive you. You forgive people for sharing what you believe to be CP as long as they apologize afterwards? Interesting. That kind of seems like a lax punishment for somebody who apparently did such an egregious crime. You know, since distribution of CP is a federal offense. But for real, this video was a whole big nothing burger and a complete waste of everyone's time. You automatically invalidated any pedo allegations you had by reposting said CP onto your YouTube for everyone else to see publicly and had a fucking meltdown over cartoon porn. The only new thing I took away from this was that Scott has a cloning / self-cess fetish. Which is weird, but it's not illegal, so... You proclaim that you are a huge fan of Scott, but the way that you act suggests you don't really know that much about him. Found out about his second Twitter, and proceeded to have a freak out on YouTube. I also want to talk more about how she makes such a big stint about Scott and his GF retweeting what she believes to be CP while redistributing it herself onto YouTube for the general public to view. Because her videos on Scott aren't the only times she's done that too. Deviant Crow has had many cases of talking about other people / groups making what she believes to be child porn, while seeing no problem with saving / redistributing what she believes to be CP. Porn of kids and real people. If it's porn of kids, why are you saving these images and then reposting them to YouTube? You honestly had a more valid point in this video about how it's weird to make porn based off someone's YouTube character without the whole pedophile thing. They are minors. Yeah, and you're reposting these minors to the public and even making it your thumbnail. The fact that you are able to repost these images repeatedly without the feds paying you a visit should tell you or anyone here if this is really child porn like Crow claims. The purpose of your ScottFalco videos was to try and milk views from a much bigger content creator for terrible reasons. You claim that you are a huge fan of his, yet the way that you talk and act in your video towards him makes it clear that you don't really know him and it just seems like an act. Your logic in those videos is also horribly twisted and inconsistent, and you should be glad that he didn't retweet any actual child porn, or you too would have been dragged off by the feds for distributing it. So for the most part, all of my video topics have been centered around her YouTube videos so far, but Crow is so inept that it naturally spills out of YouTube and infects other social media platforms like a virus. And what a better place for that than Twitter, where stupidity and bad takes are king. Now, Crow was your average Twitter user that would post really bad takes and just be annoying in general, before and after her first suspension. Just run-of-the-mill stuff on the Bluebird app. But there are two things she's done that are of interest. We will start off light. The first story actually starts with my Twitter account, surprisingly. Now, back when I was working on this script for the video, I decided, like any other good YouTuber, to announce my next video project. I make my tweet, post it, and think nothing of it. Then a couple days later, I am in a call gaming with one of my friends when he's like, "Yo, you gotta check your Twitter, you got a response." So I checked a response to that tweet, and lo and behold, who do I see but the bird of the hour, Deviant Crow herself. She replies with, "Can't wait for the steaming pile of bullshit. Like taking my words out of context or just straight up lying. Ooh woo. From there, we have a little back and forth, a little bit of banter, where she regurgitates points that I have already debunked in my video. But there is one interesting thing to note during that whole convo, is that not once did Crow ever specify how people have taken her out of context / lied about her. I have asked her this multiple times, and every time Crow has evaded the question and tried to divert the topic onto something unrelated, which leads me to guess that she's just salty that she's just disliked on YouTube. She's going on about how people just lie and take her out of context, and yet won't provide any examples despite the large amount of times it seems to happen. It's a shame too, because I was actually curious about it. Thinking back on this, I'm pretty sure that she name searches herself because my account isn't really that big and there was no prior interaction on my tweet aside from one reply from me at the time. She then proceeded to try and subtweet me after our argument, where she says, "You do know that calling someone transphobic has consequences for them? You know what's worse? Be targeted as an oppressed minority and having misinformation spread about you for being who you are naturally. First of all, you deliberately misquoted me. I was talking about how false accusations can destroy someone's life, not someone who was transphobic. You deliberately cut off the falsely part and tried to make it seem like I was defending transphobes. Let me make something clear. I do not like transphobes and I don't care for them much, especially if they're dumb enough to be transphobic on their personal accounts where they can easily be identified. You chose to twist my words into something I never said in order to make yourself seem better. That is incredibly scummy and disingenuous. Between this Twitter interaction with you and the state of your videos, it's pretty obvious that you deliberately misconstrue what others say for clout and try to make yourself seem like the better person. And judging from the like to dislike ratio on your vids, it's clearly failing. Now, the first part was pretty light, nothing really out of the ordinary aside from your standard issue Twitter slap fight. But the second part can be considered much more serious. Unfortunately, I do not have any screen caps, and I was unable to find any online after extensive searching. And believe me, I have tried. And add to the fact that Crow's original Twitter got suspended, so the series of events I will state will have to be taken with a grain of salt, unfortunately. The only proof that I have currently is a subtweet from the person who was harassed, who goes by the name WeirdCat. But I will break down a rough course of events. WeirdCat was posting art of her Sona, and Crow decides to comment cat titty. Now normally this wouldn't really matter. It would just be a one-off thing, Deviant Crow a little down bad, and nothing would really come from it. But this was not just a one-time thing. Over the course of the next few days, Crow would repeatedly get extremely sexual with WeirdCat's Sona, even going so far as to DM her, and when told that made WeirdCat uncomfortable, still continued to do so. It all reached a point where WeirdCat had enough and made a Twitter post showing all of these messages. When Crow caught wind of this, she first admitted that she messed up and apologized, which was okay. But then she tried to give some of the lamest reasons I've ever seen to try and justify / downplay her harassment. One of the reasons was that since it was a fictional character, it didn't matter since she wasn't actually harassing WeirdCat. This argument flies out the window when you realize that the character Crow was directing those comments to was a Sona based off WeirdCat herself and not some random character. To the fact your stance on fictional characters, which you have expressed multiple times, which makes this statement hypocritical, since now you care about the characters being fictional, when before you have attacked people over fictional characters. Crow also tried to say that since she acknowledged it, it's no longer a big deal and to move on from it, which is downright hypocritical of her, considering all the times she has made videos on minor details trying to take out other people and hold them accountable. From Scott to Manga to Phantom and many more. The fact that you are trying to sweep your sexual harassment under the rug when you make entire videos for people who do much less is hypocritical. The only reason why you are trying to downplay this is because you're the one getting exposed this time instead of the other way around. It's almost kind of funny. You going around making a bigger deal out of nothing on your videos, and now you're trying to downplay any actions taken against you, since people are looking into you now. But since we're on the topic of sexual harassment right now, I did find some more examples of this and was actual proof. As you can see here, it shows Crow engaging in sexual harassment by giving unwanted sexual advances. The tweet also implies that this has happened multiple times, hence sexual harassment. Crow tried to defend herself by saying it was a joke and that if anyone else did it, no one would care. What she doesn't realize is that if someone else did do it, it would either be someone that person would be cool with or just a one-time thing. They wouldn't repeatedly make these jokes when told that it made them uncomfortable, which Monstrous stated, which you clearly ignored. There is a certain irony to the sexual harassment though, and that is Crow is a progressive, and yet she is sexually harassing women, which doesn't seem like a very progressive thing to do. To put it simply,
ironic.
Well, that about wraps up what I wanted to say about Deviant Crow so far. Hopefully you understand why I say Crow makes some of the worst videos I have ever seen on YouTube. Now, while I was doing research for this video, I discovered a great deal of interesting stuff, such as her past alias of Mad Plushie. However, for the sake of time, I am just going to stick to the YouTube videos that I covered and briefly touch up on Twitter. To sum up my video, the reason why I made it was because I saw a bunch of terrible takes from them in a video. I did some digging around and found out about all her other terrible takes, and from there, my video on her was created. The main issues that Crow has is that she constantly misinforms people about topics or just flat out tries to misinterpret what others say in order to push her own points, regardless of whether or not it's actually correct. They're also really annoying when making their points, which doesn't really help. I covered most of her YouTube shenanigans in my video. The only videos that I didn't touch on that are of importance, and by importance I mean a video that I could have talked about, were the Furiously Steph one, due to the fact that Crow is basically defending someone who thinks that all gamers are white supremacists, yet decide to take a position up in Twitch, which is a gaming-based platform. Another example is the LeChan videos because she levies actual pedophile accusations towards someone, and I do not have enough information to make a final judgment on that, but from what I've seen, she mostly tries to settle a score with Coyote Lovely, who says that there isn't enough evidence for LeChan to be convicted, and is someone that Crow hates from what I've seen. I do not have enough knowledge of this event, so I'm not commenting on it. She also made a video getting mad at MatPat for explaining why ScottFalco, the FNAF guy, donated to certain Republican politicians. Crow said that MatPat explaining Scott's actions was a defense of him, which isn't true. The only thing he does is try and find out why Scott donated the way he did. She also said that MatPat is a fascist apologist, which is laughable because, as we all know, fascism is when you donate to the politicians with questionable policies. The final video that I didn't cover is where Crow talks about cancel culture and how it doesn't exist, which is laughable because she talks about how massive people don't seem to have long-lasting backlash because of cancel culture and cites Lindsay Ellis. The problem with that is that she got dragged hard on Twitter because people overreacted to her saying that Avatar was similar to Raya. The only reason she was able to come back so easily with a popular video defending herself was because she already had a large audience of loyal fans to defend her. If the average person got something blown out of proportion and canceled for it, they would be much more hampered due to a lack of an audience to defend themselves with. Add to the fact that 90% of the time, cancellations happen over something that happened so long ago, and the person who said it has already changed, or it just gets completely blown out of proportion and made into a bigger deal than what it already is, i.e. edgy tweets. Cancel culture does exist. Now, this is a part where I would say that despite all I said in this video, I hope that they get their act together and improve and make good content. But unfortunately, that does not look like it will be the case anytime soon. I covered the content that they made over the course of a year, and they still continue to make misinformed takes and have even flat out twisted and lied about other people. It's apparent that they won't change, and from their comments in the videos that I critique, Crow also thinks she's at the top of the world and doesn't take criticism seriously. The only people who still watch her content now are either people who just get on to dislike her content or the "Yas Queen Slay" type of people who see that Crow is trans and left-leaning, which is obvious to anyone who looks at their YouTube and or Twitter. They only sub to her because she's progressive, like, "OMG Queen Slay, you're doing praxis." With that being said, I've been Phaser Gazer. Don't forget to like, sub, hit the bell, all of that jazz. Well, that's all I have to say. See ya.
I've been so alone ever since I left the tribe. That's just how it goes, guess I like the lonely vibe. But they'll never know, cause I'm always on my grind. And